Have you ever been in a room full of people, smiling, laughing, talking, and yet you felt like a ghost trapped behind a wall of glass? Have you ever caught yourself wondering why so much effort goes into pretending? Why fitting in feels less like belonging and more like erasing yourself? If you have, then this video is for you. And if you haven't, maybe it's time to ask whether you are really living at all or just performing a role that was handed to you. Because today, we're going to confront a truth most people spend their whole lives avoiding. A truth that philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche, Arthur Schopenhauer, and even the ancient Stoics glimpsed with painful clarity. Most people aren't living their lives. They're living scripts written by other people's expectations. But here's the unsettling question no one dares to ask. Whose expectations are you serving? Think carefully. How many times have you agreed with a group just to avoid being seen as difficult? How many times have you smiled when you wanted to scream? How many times have you sacrificed your authenticity for the illusion of acceptance? And then, the deeper question, at what price? Because nothing is free. And the price of belonging to the crowd is often the slow erosion of your soul. Great thinkers have long warned us. The intelligent mind inevitably collides with society's shallow games. The sharper your mind, the more absurd the theater of everyday life begins to look. Not because you're better, but because you can't unsee the masks once you've noticed them. You see how politeness often disguises cowardice. You see how small talk isn't connection, but camouflage. You see how ambition often masks desperation for approval, and once you see it, you cannot go back. You realize that most social rituals are not about truth, but about conformity, about protecting the fragile egos that make up the herd. And here's the paradox. The more awake you are, the lonelier the world becomes. Because the less you participate in the grand illusion, the more alien you appear to those still trapped within it. And people sense it. They sense that you are not fully playing along. They feel the silent rebellion behind your smile, the quiet resistance in your eyes, and that makes them uncomfortable, even if they can't explain why. Because in a world addicted to validation, your refusal to seek it makes you dangerous. Schopenhauer said it plainly. To live alone is the fate of all great souls. And it stings, doesn't it? It stings because we were taught from childhood that fulfillment comes from belonging, that friendship and connection are the keys to happiness. But no one warned us that shallow connections feel more painful than honest solitude. No one prepared us for the reality that chasing acceptance often demands the sacrifice of our integrity. And so, a quiet transformation begins. You start to withdraw, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. You begin to treasure your own time more than the approval of people you barely know. And something unexpected happens. At first, solitude feels like exile, but soon it feels like liberation. Because in solitude, you find something society desperately tries to hide: yourself. The modern world is built on noise, constant chatter, constant images, constant demands for your attention. Because silence is dangerous. Silence forces you to think, and thinking threatens the very systems that survive by keeping you distracted. Philosophers have always known this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. But how can you think deeply when your mind is painted with the graffiti of 1,000 shallow distractions? This is why solitude isn't just an escape. It's a necessary condition for any meaningful thought. It's in the stillness that you begin to hear the faint voice of your own mind, the voice drowned out for so long by the roar of the crowd. And here's the bitter truth. The pursuit of truth will almost always demand the sacrifice of comfort. It will strip away your illusions. It will peel back the layers of false identity. It will demand that you face the terrifying possibility that who you are is not who you were told to be, and the more you awaken, the less you fit. You don't laugh at the jokes you're supposed to laugh at. You don't chase the things you're supposed to desire. You don't worship the idols society places before you. And people notice. They notice your absence from the rituals they never question. They notice your unwillingness to participate in the endless dance of validation. And your very existence becomes a silent provocation. Because you remind them, without saying a word, that they too are free to step outside the prison, but most won't. Most will cling even tighter to the walls of their cages, mocking those who leave, comforting themselves with the idea that freedom must be a kind of madness. But here's the most profound irony. The less you need the world's approval, the more powerful you become within it. When you stop playing the game, you stop being controlled by it. You become an enigma. Not because you try to be, but because authenticity is so rare, it's almost unrecognizable. And people will react in strange ways. Some will resent you. Some will admire you. Some will fear you. But the few, the very few who are awake, will recognize you. Because true minds know each other across the silence. And in that rare meeting of kindred spirits, you will find a connection deeper than 1,000 shallow friendships, because you will have built it not on the shifting sands of approval, but on the bedrock of truth. Now, let's address a dangerous misunderstanding. This is not a call to hate humanity. This is not a plea for cynicism. This is a call to choose depth over distraction, to choose authenticity over applause, to choose to be alone rather than falsely connected. Because solitude, when chosen freely, is not loneliness. It is the highest form of strength. It is standing alone in a world desperate to pull you into its endless cycles of noise, and choosing instead to listen to the stillness within. And here's the final twist. Once you stop chasing acceptance, you no longer live at the mercy of the world's whims. You become truly free, because the world can only control you if you crave its approval. And once you stop craving, you become untouchable. You walk among the noise and chaos with a serenity no one can take from you. You live by your own values, not by the shifting standards of a crowd that doesn't even know what it wants. And slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly, the world changes around you. You find yourself surrounded not by many, but by the few who matter, the few who see, the few who think, the few who dare. And when you do, you realize that you were never truly alone. You were simply walking a path that most feared to tread, and the price of walking that path, the solitude, the discomfort, the occasional ache of isolation, is nothing compared to what you gain: yourself. So the next time you feel out of place, the next time the noise of the world feels unbearable, the next time someone tells you to be more like everyone else, smile. Because you're not lost. You're simply awake in a world that is still sleeping. And being awake, however painful, is always better than living in dreams.